Welcome to another episode of Marijuana Channel 1. Today, it is my pleasure to talk to one of my good friends, Jason Lammers at 420 Wholesale Packaging. Good morning, Jason. How are you, brother?
Doing great, David. Good to see you.
I should say this afternoon. I never know on Marijuana Channel 1 if it's morning or evening, but I see you've got your evening lights on.
Yep.
So Jason, you and I have known each other for a long time. We spent, it seems years together on the convention trail, going from CannaCons and MJBizCons and all kinds of events here in Washington and across the country. But it's been a couple of years, I guess, since I've really had an in-depth conversation with you, since probably the last MJBizCon in Vegas. How have you been? How are things going?
Doing good, David. Yeah, it's been, I think it was the last time we really connected was MJBizCon 2019. And then obviously the pandemic hit and we've kind of been not able to do what we're so used to doing, right? Is doing all these trade shows and networking with people and getting face to face with customers and potential customers. And so that part's been tough, obviously, like for everybody. But fortunately, at least right now in our industry, we're starting to see, a soft, slow opening, where we are going to MJBizCon soon. Interchange with MJ Ventures going on here in a few weeks locally. So things are starting to roll out. We've got the Cannabis Alliance Summit, which we're doing virtually the next couple of days. So it's really nice and exciting to see those opportunities come back, right? Because that's really how we built our business in this space, was doing the trade shows, putting a face to a name, and we're a small business. We're all about customer service and take care of our customers. So finding those customers face to face is so much more effective than trying to cold call people or send emails and things of that nature.
That's right. And so in the early days, especially, I think supporting the local trade shows and vendor fairs was part of that community outreach. So you did not only sponsorships through things like CannaCon and marijuana venture shows, the RAD show and others, but you supported your very early sponsor of Marijuana Business Association, MJBA, the group I ran. You're a big part of the Cannabis Alliance, which continues. So you've got a summit coming up this week. Tell me about how social activism has been part of your marketing strategy and why that's important for cannabis entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just about kind of doing the right thing. I've always kind of had that small business mentality and just kind of balancing, obviously needing to be profitable to stay in business, right? But also just not being greedy and kind of finding that balance of whereas a lot of corporates tend to kind of brush away the customer service and, because it's more profitable, have less employees to answer phones, those kinds of things. We try to do the small stuff to take care of our customers. And that just kind of not just taking good care of our customers, it really kind of goes further as far as, responsibility as a business owner, really, and what can we do to provide better packaging, more sustainable packaging. When I got in the space, I wasn't necessarily dead set on finding all those solutions right out the gate, because I was honestly just trying to get into the space, get my foot in the door. But pretty quickly, I started seeing that I was a big part of the problem, importing 40-foot containers of plastic,
that's right,
all that kind of stuff from China.
That's right.
And just saw a lot of problems with that, And then obviously with the pandemic, it's happened, and not only from the sustainability front, but supply chain issues have really become a huge, topic of conversation, not just in our industry, but across the whole world right now. And so, not only the sustainability front, but also just, can you get it right now is a big question.
Reliability, which is part of sustainability, not only eco-sustainability, but the economical sustainability of supply chain. So talk a little bit about that. Yeah, the good news is that as an industry, we're bigger than ice cream. The bad news is that we're filling up the landfills and the oceans with doob tubes. How big a problem is it, and are we making any headway?
Yeah, well, we definitely are making some great headway. What we worked on real aggressively over the last few years was really looking for kind of being open-minded and really kind of reverse engineering the industry and the packaging world and finding, what are viable solutions and what are not. In the sustainability space, there's a lot of greenwashing out there, just like any industry, right? There's some people that aren't quite so ethical, and they'll kind of BS their way into, oh, we got a great product, but does it actually accomplish what you claim it does? And so we did a lot of digging in investigative work to really vet these people that were making certain claims. And then also in our industry specifically, price is really important. A lot of people think our cannabis, customers are just these really wealthy, profitable businesses. But when you really drill down to the economics of our industry, it's so heavily taxed, so heavily regulated. The margins for a lot of the growers are just extremely slim, and so they just
so like on a doob tube, which is really the most egregious of the violators, right? So we have this perfectly wonderful product made of paper and flour, and we have to surround it in this big obnoxious plastic package that will last for many lifetimes. How price sensitive? What are the margins on an average? So you're in Washington State, but you have clients all over the country. So on a $10 doob or a $6 legal doob, how much of that is packaging?
So your traditional doob tubes probably sell for, even the ones imported from overseas, they're probably, on average about a 10-cent item. So they're not, that doesn't sound a lot to the average person probably, but the reality is, the brands can't simply afford to spend 20, 30, 40 cents on a quote unquote sustainable version of that product, right?
And is that much difference to go to a biodegradable, and how much more would it be? I mean, I hear, hemp as the solution. Is hemp even in the ballpark of being viable economically?
I think hemp definitely has a great future. I'm actually not a huge fan of hemp plastics at this point. Big reason for that is they have added costs and really don't kind of do anything more than say like a recycled plastic tube would. As we kind of dug into all those options, we looked at compostables, we looked at hemp plastics, we looked at recycled solutions, and really looked at, what could we produce that would be cost effective, that would be a big improvement from the status quo, and not worry about like what's the perfect package in the future. Hopefully we can continue to work towards, better and better sustainable packaging solutions, but really what could we do to make a big step forward in that direction? And so that's when we really found that from our research that manufacturing with recycled plastics was the answer, because it's relatively cost effective. I mean, we have seen some pretty big price increases, but I mean, that's just part of the world right now. And so still, even with those price increases, recycled plastic is still extremely more affordable than say like a compostable material would be. And then in our studies, especially with the more rigid wall containers, a lot of those quote unquote compostable tubes, from what we saw, really weren't actually going to do what they delivered. A lot of them would require to be put into industrial compost facilities to actually kind of deliver the promise that they market. And in our state, we have industrial composters, and they simply won't take that packaging. We actually had those meetings, and so
that's what I was going to say is, and even recycling, isn't that a problem? There's not as many recyclers out there anymore, and I think the Chinese market is problematic.
Yeah, I mean, recycling is really strained as well in our country right now. There's definitely some huge issues that need to be addressed, I think, kind of on a government level around that stuff. And so we can't fix that part of it. So we said, well, what can we do as a company to create a more responsible and sustainable product line for the industry? And so that's when we really looked at manufacturing with recycled plastic, right? Because there's already tons and tons of plastic out there. And so if we can reclaim that, regrind it down into pellets, and then manufacture new products with it without actually adding any more, we're not adding to the demand of new virgin plastics that way. We also invested in some machinery so that during our manufacturing process, we also have a zero waste manufacture process too. So not only are we recycling with 100% recycled plastics, we are also manufacturing in a manner that we actually don't have any waste through our injection mold process. And so
and how have clients responded to that initiative? Or do you have a demand from licensees for recycled packaging?
Yeah, I mean, I would say depending on the brand or the farms out there, some of them are really passionate about it, and they're even willing to spend up a little bit more for it if necessary. But at the end of the day, again, this is a competitive, very cutthroat industry, and so if you have a product that's twice the cost, most people aren't going to be willing to pay for that just because it helps the planet, you know. And so, so we were really conscious in our development of this product, and we were really looking at the cost factor of it and how can we deliver a cost competitive product that also checks the sustainability boxes. And so, and we feel like we've done that. You know, our price points on our recycled tubes run anywhere from 7 to 12 cents, depending on the volume you buy. And like I said before, about 10 cents is kind of your average imported tube.
So you're right in the sweet spot,
so,
right
so
in the
kind
sweet
of like
spot.
right in that range. And so we're not really asking our customers to spend a whole lot more. I mean, sometimes it might be a penny or two, but you know, they're not paying 2 or 3x for a sustainable solution. And so, so overall, the response has been well. Obviously, with the COVID situation going on right now, it's been tough to get the word out because, again, that was kind of our business model, was going to the shows and getting in front of people and educating people. And so we're really excited about MJBizCon, you know, happening, because that's obviously the big national show and really international in most years. And so that'll really, I think, be our first big opportunity to kind of get on the national stage and really educate people. Because as I said before, you know, doing those cold calls and emails, you know, it's a pretty low hit rate. And
so tell me what you're planning for Vegas. You guys will have a booth on the convention floor?
Yeah, so we've got a booth. We've got an excellent booth. We've been there for 5 or 6 years now. And so each year we've kind of got a better booth space, you know, as things kind of work. And so we're in booth C7108. And we're a 10 by 10 corner right as you walk in the door. So you walk in and that's our booth. And so we got an excellent location. And we're just super excited about that. It's been an excellent show for us every year we've gone. And so we're really excited that's happening again. And I think that's really going to be our kind of big opportunity to, because we kind of teased this product before it was available at the last MJBizCon in 2019. And then because of COVID, we had manufacturing delays in the equipment. And so it really turned into, instead of having tubes available last June, we didn't even have tubes available for sale until January, February this year. So we had quite a few kind of disruptions through the COVID process in that regard.
And tell me about your supply chain. How is that now? Are you able to take orders at the show? And how, if I write an order at the show in October, third week in October, how quickly will I get product?
Well, that's the great thing too about this recycled joint tube, is not only is it sustainable from the environmental side of things, but it's also manufactured locally here in Washington State. And so for our local customers, it's a super quick turnaround time. Since we fired the machine up and started manufacturing in January, February-ish, we haven't run out of tubes once. And when we used to import from overseas, there were many times where there'd be delays in the port.
Oh, so that's fantastic. So you're thinking globally, but you're acting locally. I love it. That is the you know, that's the hippie motto, right? That's the approach. So tell me, what other cannabis packaging trends are we looking for in the next year or so beyond eco-sustainability? What else do you see that's hot in the marketplace?
Well, I honestly just see the sustainable packaging conversation just kind of almost just getting fuel on the fire, and it just year in and year out, I think it's going to become a hotter and hotter topic. You know, we're starting to see legislation in our state and other states that are starting to mandate, not really for our industry, but for the entire state, as far as packaging requirements. Washington State just passed a bill that's going to require recycled materials in certain products. So there's definitely a push for that. And so that's really been our focus as a company, is what can we do to kind of improve our product lines and create good value for our customers in some sustainable solutions. But as we do that, we're also really looking at from that cost competitive lens. So how can we find sustainable solutions that don't have a 2 to 3x price point on them from their otherwise? And so we partner with a U.S. box maker as well. This last year, I think it was, or actually in 2020. And so with them, we again have another U.S. supplier, which is a lot better than working with overseas. And they can actually do retail box packaging from either hemp paper or regular paper, which is an awesome solution.
And that's domestic production of recycled paper or hemp paper here in the States?
Yeah, so they can either do a standard paper print or they can print it on actual hemp paper. And so we've had some people, you know, excited about those options. And cost wise, how does that factor? What's the relationship there? I'd say the hemp probably is maybe about 20% or so more than the regular paperish. It just obviously depends on your volumes and the size of the box you're doing and whatnot. But on average, I'd probably say, you know, there's definitely a bit of a price increase, but it's manageable for especially if it's somebody that's looking for a more.
Yeah, and that's kind of a premium thing, right? I mean, you know, hemp and bamboo are like the hottest materials in manufacturing these days.
Yeah, and so, you know, if I have a customer that says, well, you know, I like your recycled tube, but I'd really like to not stay away from plastic altogether, then that's where kind of that hemp box solution can kind of be that solution for the customer. And so we really like having that on the table. Another really cool sustainable product we got is the dab jars. So obviously the glass is, you can recycle that, but then all those lids are plastic and they're typically virgin plastic. And so we've got a manufacturer that we partner with that has a recycled lid available on that.
Recycling the lids, yeah, which is fantastic. And you know, one could only hope that we could then do the refillables, right? Take the glass packaging and refill them, because in a dab, there's no reason that you couldn't sterilize and reuse.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've kind of explored at the Cannabis Alliance through our sustainability committee is kind of looking at, you know, what are some potential, like, you know, future solutions for our state. You know, could we have take back programs where you could bring your dab jars back into the store, you could collect them all, get them to a central location, sanitize them, and then, you know, resell, reuse them. Something like that. We've been exploring and looking for kind of creative solutions like that kind of check those sustainability boxes, but also, you know, kind of create some efficiencies, you know, because a lot of those jars are coming from overseas still.
They're expensive. Glass is not cheap, that's for sure. So tell me a little bit about the sustainability committee at the Cannabis Alliance. You're the head of that. How long have you been doing that, and what's the goal of that group? And how would I participate if I were a licensee or someone in the industry that was like-minded?
Yeah, so any Cannabis Alliance members can get involved with our committees. We've got quite a few robust committees in our organization. The one that I chair is the sustainability committee, and I started that in, I think, 2018. And so we've been working at it for a few years now. And one of our first big projects that really took quite a long time to really do that analysis on, you know, can we or can't we make these improvements, and then getting the data to back it up, and then going through that process of, you know, basically lobbying the LCB to make the changes. But, you know, it's a very long process. But after about a year and a half of that work, we were actually able to get some really effective packaging waste reduction rules passed in our state. And for a very rare case, the LCB was very supportive. In most cases, when our industry lobbies against the LCB for improvements, they're usually hesitant or reluctant to kind of take those ideas on. But in this case, they were extremely excited about what we brought to the table. And basically those two simple things where we said the 4 mil poly bag was just ridiculous for cannabis. You know, if you look at other industries that use really thick bags or regulate the need for thick bags, it's really about a weight issue, or if it's a sharp item that could puncture the bag. We don't have any of that in our industry. Our stuff's lightweight. There's nothing that's going to really puncture. And so there was no logic behind a 4 mil bag.
Hopefully you don't have any offending stems anymore.
Yeah, exactly, right. And so so with that said, like, you know, we just really felt that was just a really easy way to fix, just basically change a rule, change the language from 4 to 2 mil, and obviously that's a 50% reduction in plastic usage.
That's fantastic.
And we were able to quantify that with our partnership with Headset. Just in flower packaging alone, that's about 40 tons of plastic that we took out of our landfills.
Just in Washington State.
Just in Washington every year.
Let's talk about taking local success stories like you've just described in Washington State. How do we create national standards? How do we create international industry standards? And, you know, has that process already begun? And why don't we have that already?
Yeah, so there's definitely some work, I think, on a bigger national level. I've actually been an advisor with Resource Innovation Institute out of Oregon, and they're doing some incredible work around really data-rich analytics around LED lighting, water consumption, really everything in the grow process. And packaging is kind of obviously where I come to the table and kind of advise there, but they're really tackling a lot of really important issues across the entire grow process, and have done excellent work. And they're kind of, you know, looking at it on more of a national stage. Other organizations like NCIA, which we're a sister, Cannabis Alliance is a sister kind of organization to them, affiliated with them. And so they also are doing some good work. They actually just put out a really great sustainability paper, the NCIA did not too long ago. They had some really great recommendations in there. So we're starting to see kind of some coalescing of these different individual states, because we're kind of been so separated, right? Because we have our own rules and our own systems, and we're not really doing business across states unless you're, ancillary type company. And so I think initially that's why there wasn't a lot of collaboration around these issues, but I think now we've become a more mature industry, and we're starting to see that, federalization and eventually state commerce and those things are going to happen. And so it's time to start thinking about what that looks like. And it's going to be really challenging if we have, 50 states with 50 sets of rules, right? So we need to start kind of coming together with all these different state organizations, sharing our ideas. I've done that with our 4 mil to 2 mil bag idea. We've actually gone to other organizations in other states and said, hey, this seems like a pretty easy ask for your legislation, and you can get this passed and make a big impact. And so when if you get a big win on a local level like that, I think it's important to get that message out on a larger scale so that we kind of can come up with more national standards.
Fantastic. And where would I go if I were a cannabis business looking to get involved, help you in this effort? Where would you send folks?
You could check out the Cannabis Alliance website, and that is cannabisalliance.us. And we've got a lot of great information on there. Our upcoming summit in the next few days, all those speakers are listed there. All of our committee work is on there. A lot of the work we did around sustainability, there's some great kind of data points if you want to actually see some of the numbers that we worked on. So that's really a great resource. We also do a weekly happy hour, which we started during the pandemic. That's actually been a really great success. Every Tuesday at 4, we do a virtual Zoom happy hour, and it's open to anybody. We have cannabis just advocates, patients, industry people. It's really just about, hey, if you're into cannabis and you want to come network or ask questions, it's really been a cool little group we've done every Tuesday throughout the pandemic.
Every Tuesday you can join and
that's on the website too. So if that's something you want to tune in and chat with us, you can just
that's on the Cannabis Alliance website as well.
Yep.
Right on. And then I'll give you the last word. So much is going on. What else would you like to cover before we ring off this episode?
Yeah, well, we've had a few more, like I said, shows are starting to kind of slowly come back a little bit. We've seen it's been a little mixed. Some have been getting canceled still, some are still kind of happening, but I think we're starting to trend in the right direction there. And so Interchange is coming up, which MJ Venture puts on. That's October.
When is Interchange this year?
October 5th and 6th. So it's like in 2 weeks, coming up real soon. It's down in Renton. They do a great kind of speed dating sort of business model where you get 15 minutes with a grower and then a retailer, and they get a chance to kind of do their business. And then I'm there kind of as a sponsor and kind of networking and finding opportunities to potentially do some business myself. And so it's been a great show for us that we always get excited about. It's really kind of the last good local show here. As we talked about earlier, CannaCon's kind of gone. Lemon Haze was here. They're still doing stuff, but not in the state. And so really all of our shows, our state shows have kind of disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Change is kind of the last kind of regular show that we have. And so I think there's really an opportunity there. I think we're kind of missing a little bit more.
And then every year you also did the Jack Herer Cup. Are you still doing that? Are you still working with that show?
I don't think we're going to be doing it this year. We have been a big supporter of them pretty much all the way up until the pandemic started. And I'm not even sure if they're doing it this year.
I saw that. I think they're moving it to December of this year.
Okay.
But you never know. Again, it's supposed to be in Vegas, and I've had some fun times. You have been generous enough to invite me to the Jack Herer Cup as your guest, and have enjoyed those shows. I'm looking forward to MJBizCon and the Fairchild event, the Zodiac party, which has got all the buzz.
Yeah, I think that'll be a really good one.
Yeah, I think the industry's ready to come out and start networking again. And, community is so much a part of why we do business and how we do business.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And like you said, in our industry, even more so, it really is kind of a, face-to-face, community-driven kind of industry. So, but yeah, other than that, I'm just kind of excited about getting the opportunity to get back out and see people like you and other great people in the industry and kind of meet new customers and just kind of do what we do, get back out and shake some hands and do some networking and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's been too long. It's been too long. I really look forward to seeing you in Vegas, and I really appreciate you catching up with us here on Marijuana Channel 1. My good brother and friend and colleague, Jason Lammers, 420 Wholesale Packaging, 420WholesalePack.com. So thank you for all you do.
Yeah, thanks, David.
Cheers.